This is the Slots and Sockets podcast. I am one of your hosts, IRD Moose, from my mom's basement studio, and my partner in crime.
Not from my mom's basement studio, from my house. Turbo Penguin.
Just below the attic, yes. Hello out there, everyone in Internetopia, and welcome in. We got an interesting development that cropped up earlier this afternoon. Turbo, you want to tell us a little bit about the news from AMD?
So it has been wildly clear that AMD has the 9070 and the 9070 XT coming out.
Yep.
And like, what's strange is at CES, they were like, yeah, we have this new thing coming out and it's new graphics card. And then they didn't say anything or do anything about it. And they just kind of stopped. And then we're like, that was weird. And they were like, well, it needs its own event. And we're like, okay, kind of like, so anyways, well, and it's like, it's crazy. We've got cards not only in the hands, like we have cards in the hands of retailers to the point where we have unboxing videos and images of these cards in retailers' hands. And it's been like the world's worst kept secret that these cards are like legitimately like done and like from a silicon and like in hands of real people. But we're all just kind of sitting there thinking, okay, when are you actually going to say anything about this? Because like we've gotten tons of information and solid information on it. Like we know the core count, we know the clock speeds, even though there's a little tilde and asterisk events next to them, but we know them because they're on boxes and we have pictures of boxes. We know that it's a 25-bit bus. We know it's 16 gig of DDR6. Like we know this, like we just know everything. Yep. Okay, like even to the point where we know it's going to use up to 265 watts of power. Okay,
which is not a small amount.
we know it's going to be PCI Express 4, not 5. Okay,
which I mean that's not surprising considering the 5090 is Gen 4 anyway. So,
well, 5090 actually is Gen 5.
Oh, it is. I misread that then.
5070 is Gen 5. It's 57, the 5000 series, the 50 series is Gen 5. So, like, we know all of this, and we have pictures. Like, there's legitimate, not even just like leaked photos. Like, someone at the store unboxed these, took pictures of what's in the box, multiple pictures of the video card out of the box.
Oh, good grief.
Like, so we know that this is done. Like, we know it's there. And AMD, like all I can think of is that there is something about the presentation, to the keynote presentation at CES that scared the living crap out of Radeon.
Mm-hmm.
Because today at like 2:00 in the afternoon, Radeon, John McAfee? David McAfee. He's the dude in charge. He's the VP and general manager of Ryzen CPU and Radeon graphics. So this is the dude who's supposed to be the dudes of Radeon.
No relation to John McAfee, the antivirus guy.
Yeah, he's not the antivirus guy. He's the Radeon dude. We should call him Sir Radeon.
Sir Radeon.
He comes out today and says that they're not going to release it in January, but they're going to announce it in January. And that the release date is supposed to be March, while the 5000 series is going to get a full-on launch. Now, Moose,
that makes no sense.
Why on earth would you let your competitor release without any competition and give them 2 months of sales before you released?
Well, not just 2 months of sales, but 2 months of mindshare, 2 months of press covering them.
Everything. Why? You wouldn't.
Yeah, there's no logical reason behind it.
Okay, so there is a logical reason. It's a bad reason, but it's a reason.
It's something they think is probably a good reason.
Okay,
but, yeah.
Okay, what is AMD really good at?
Screwing up their marketing.
Up launches. So here is I do not have a source, but I am. This is what's happening. I promise you, this is what's happening.
This is
So
speculation, but I'm
this is what's
inclined to
happening.
agree. I've heard the sneak preview, and
This is
yeah, I'm pretty confident he's right.
they saw DLSS 4 multi-frame gen, and they were like, "Crap, that's not ready for us yet. The hardware's done, it's ready to go. Software's not ready." And because they're scared of DLSS 4 and they don't want to compete without DLSS 4, they're waiting until their version is done. So let me get this right. So let's think about this.
They want their own version of the 5070 outruns the 4090.
Yeah.
But they don't have it.
Yeah, right. So what they're going to do is they're going to take something that's not ready and put a crap ton of software resources into something and rush it out the door.
This sounds like a good idea. No, this sounds like a brilliant idea, Turbo. It's never gone wrong.
Oh my gosh, this is like an like I can see the like this is like watching the accident happening. You go to those YouTube videos where you see the accident and it's in slow-mo. And they started it too early, and you can see the accident happening live, and you're just like, no.
It's not even in slow-mo. Like where we're at right now is
it's like 10 minutes away from the actual accident, and we know what's going to happen.
Yeah,
the car hasn't happened.
The car is on the train tracks, broken down, and the train is 15 minutes away.
It's so bad.
Yeah,
it's like bad.
Yeah, it's like, what the heck, AMD? Okay, come on, guys.
The smart thing for AMD to say was, we have this, it's not ready. Here's our card, and we're going to release this feature into this card, and this is real frames comparing to real frames.
Yep.
Because everybody right now is like, okay, a 5070 is not a 4090. No. And even NVIDIA is like, okay, yeah, so it really isn't. Like, even like in the press, like as they're talking to reviewers, NVIDIA's like, yeah, you're right. Like,
yeah, but no,
5070 is not a 4090. Like, they've kind of come clean that maybe that wasn't the best comparison, although it was something that they said. They've sort of backed off a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, there is a lot of talk about real frames versus fake frames.
Well, yeah, because that's what a lot of even people in our comments in previous episodes have talked about, is like, well, I can't use DLSS because I play competitively. I've got to have real frames. And, I hate DLSS because it sucks. Now, that's not my perspective, but again, I'm not a pro gamer that relies on every single frame at 240 hertz being a real frame.
If I'm spending $1,000 in a video card, I shouldn't have to turn on fake frames.
I agree. I wholly agree.
I mean, that's my problem with this. Like,
and even more so when you're spending $2,000.
Well, no, but that's it. Like,
yeah,
if I have to turn, like, it's almost like they're like, okay, it's this whole like, well, I want to pretend like I'm doing 500 frames a second. Okay, well, we'll put a little counter thing that says you're doing 500, but you're really only doing 60.
That reminds me of the old Counter-Strike 2 ping plotter. It always read about 50 milliseconds quicker than it actually was.
I mean, that's
it's
it's such a bad thing, and what worries me is like AMD is like hook, line, and sinker, and when you release something that's going to be half baked, I already know what the reviews are going to say.
Yeah,
the only positive thing that we could possibly see out of this is if they're going to come out and say that you're going to be able to get um, the next gen and frame gen, it's going to be on multiple generations, and it's going to be across multiple. Like you can run this on a GTX card.
Yeah. Well, and another thing to kind of circle back to the huge marketing blunder here. If they announced and released now, they could legitimately compare against the 4000 series. But in 2 weeks, people are going to call BS on that, because the 5000 series will be out and they'll be able to test the 9070 against the 5000 series, and they're going to come out a hell of a lot worse.
I worry, because the whole notion with 9000 series it was supposed to be comparable to a 4080 Super. And I think the 5070 Ti is going to be in that realm, and the 5070 Ti is going to just mop the floor with that. I mean, if you look at this, like just the pure statistics. Now, I know it's hard. You really can't compare one core over here to another core over there. But let's just put some numbers into perspective. More than double the shader core count. Okay. Now, the 3 gigahertz boost clock on the Radeon is a little bit of a positive. Okay, 500 megahertz slower. Okay, but there are also twice as many of them. So okay,
right,
more than twice, but okay. Same amount of RAM, same amount of memory bus, higher memory speed, GDDR7, and a substantially faster memory bandwidth.
Yeah.
Bundle that with NVIDIA's already tested and true software. I really questioned the 9070 XT's ability to compete. Heck, I have a question on if it will compete with the 5070.
I mean, it might wind up competing with the B580.
I don't think so.
Okay, that was a bit of a low blow. I apologize. I'll cop to that.
No, but I mean, that's
but
like,
yeah,
it's such a bad thing.
They're gonna have to. I think, like we said a while back, I think they're gonna have to go hard in the paint on the pricing to compete. I mean, so if it's comparable.
If you're comparing against the 5070 Ti and the 5070,
yeah,
and we know okay, we know that AMD most likely got wind of what the keynote slides were going to look like. Okay, which is most likely why they didn't come up with pricing. AMD, I mean, so NVIDIA was like, you guys weren't going to give us pricing? And they were like, okay. Then they gave them bottom dollar and said, you know what? We're going to play a game. Here's what we get. AMD shot themselves in the foot.
Yeah.
Had AMD came out with a price, I think it would have forced NVIDIA to kind of follow suit, rather than just be like, well, this is what we're going to sell it for. $549 for a 5070. I really think so. Now, the problem is that they're reacting, and AMD, again, time after time after time again, is reacting rather than being the one setting the standard. They did this with Zen 5 without launching an X3D, or at least saying X3D. Didn't really properly, did a horrible launch there. X3D,
the only parts they
really kind of saves them.
Yeah, the only parts they actually launched properly were the X3D parts. So, and it's funny because I was thinking about that whole side too, and I think the reason we didn't see dual CCD 3D V cache on the 90 or 9950 is because Intel screwed the pooch so bad with the 285. I mean, look at Jay's 2 cents most recent. But look at Jay's 2 cents most recent video. What did he build for a 5090? He built a 14900K. Like and it was in a small form factor system. He didn't build a 285K.
Because they don't. There's
That's
something
very
funky
telling.
with that story from last time is very telling.
Yeah.
Because there is something funky with the notion that nobody is building 285Ks.
Yeah.
But
like you can't even get them. Like
it's so weird. It makes zero sense. I still think there's something funky with that because you can find 265s pretty easily.
Yep.
You can actually find 265 bundles from Micro Center. You can't find 285s. And that tells you either part of me thinks that maybe that this is a pricing thing because at $600, who's going to pay $600 for a 285K when the 9800 X3D just beats the living crap out of it?
Mm-hmm.
But I also sort of wonder, like, you still have the fanboys that would be buying that, and people who are very pro Intel, and you really kind of have to look and build that. Like, it's not easy to find.
Yeah.
All I can say is I think Radeon is doing, and all I can say is that they're giving NVIDIA like everything that they've ever wanted.
They're literally handling they're handing NVIDIA the win on a golden leather jacket.
Yes, well, a golden alligator jacket.
Yeah, well, alligator leather is leather.
That's what Jensen was wearing as keynote.
Yes, because when RTX very much was on that. It was shiny. Exactly.
Because Jensen came out and all we knew is that they had that there was a competition and that it was a card.
Turbo, I think I figured it out.
Real thing.
I think I figured it out.
That was it.
So this whole thing with AMD, the reason they hope this
Lisa Su can't wear a jacket.
Well, no, but I think what's going on here is
she needs some spatulas from her kitchen.
Maybe. She needs to pull a graphics card out of her oven like Jensen did during the pandemic. So the thing is like NVIDIA's marketing is trying to play the game, but the problem is NVIDIA is the way the game's meant to be played.
Oh my gosh.
How's that for a throwback to a marketing slogan? Come on, I couldn't resist. I could not resist that joke. That was a joke, but yeah, I mean, seriously, I'm sitting here, I'm like, okay, I want to see the 9070. I keep trying to call it 9700 because, I mean, it really should be the 9700, and it should, or actually, realistically, they probably should have called it the 9800 because this is the 21st anniversary of the 9800 that really actually put them on the map as a player in the graphics arena. I mean, I had one. I think you had one
on purpose because they know that the 9070 is going to fall short.
Maybe
so if you think about it, it might be them saying, "Well, it's not going to."
Let's not call this a tribute edition because this is not going to be that great. Yeah, that's possible.
It very well could be.
But that's the thing is like they're not showing any confidence in their product, and I that's the thing that's kind of frustrating me. Because I want to see AMD do well. I want to see NVIDIA do well. I want to see AMD actually provide some freaking competition for NVIDIA and force them to get the price down. And
I think that they sort of did.
Well,
I think
on the low end, yeah.
Here.
On the low end, sure.
No, for sure on the low end. I mean, and again, keep in mind, the 80 and 90 series, NVIDIA really doesn't have competition other than, they do have to price it competitively with their 770 series. So I don't know. All I can say is that the only the positive thing that comes out of this is that when this thing comes out, it's going to be the world's worst kept secret. We already have benchmarks of a 9070. We know that they're out there. Where there's multiple out there.
Yeah.
Drivers are readily available, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not an issue. So come May, this 9070 had better just come out swinging because it has to be super competitive. Now, price point. this is the loaded question. This is the one thing that I don't think we know or have any idea where these cards. We've got leaks. I'm not sure that any of these leaks are final. And especially after today, I would say that pricing leaks are absolutely to be determined.
Yeah.
Because part of me thinks that the reason that this got moved back is for two things. They want to make DLSS that FSR4.
Yeah.
They want FSR4 baked with multi-frame gen, which means they got to build the stupid thing.
Yep.
Okay. Or finish the stupid thing. Okay. And two, they want to see what their stuff looks like comparable to a 5000 series card. Because my guess is part of me thinks that possibly they're targeting a higher price point at the 5070 Ti. And if so, that's such a bad idea.
Yeah. No, yeah, especially if it comes in at comparable performance on the raster side. Because
the notion was we've seen some fairly good leaks, and it slots the 9070 XT in between a 4080 Super and a 4070 Ti Super. Okay, both of those are 16 gigabyte cards.
Yeah.
Okay. And they're both, I mean, the Super is obviously faster, but they're fairly close, and it gives us a really tight frame of what to expect.
Yep.
Performance-wise, rasterization to rasterization. Okay. I have very little confidence that AMD has got something pulling out of their brain that FSR4 is going to just beat the snot out of DLSS4. I could be wrong. Nobody knows. No one has seen it.
What if their bombshell is FSR4 also works on 4000 series and gives you multi-frame gen there?
Well, I think AMD has kind of left it open. Well, okay. Multi-frame generation has not been a question on 4000 series.
Mm-hmm.
The question is would this work on 3000 series and 2000 series?
Right.
And
right.
NVIDIA did come out and say it's not off the table on 3000 series. Now, it might be that on the 4000, 5000 series, you can get 4 or 5 frame gen. Okay. Like a 1 to 5 mode. And 30 series might be like a 1 to 3.
Mm-hmm.
You know, or something along those lines. Okay. Where you'll get an uplift, but not necessarily like as crazy as you get with the next gen.
Right.
The notion though on FSR4 is would it work with GTX cards? Because that's where a lot of people are being like, sweet, because they can turn on FSR and use FSR on any graphics card, including GTX. And it's really kind of giving those GTX like the 1080 Ti's some really surprising uplift.
Mm-hmm.
If FSR gives multi-frame gen and you can use it on, I don't know. Think about this: 6000 series from AMD.
Mm-hmm.
A 6900 user that's never really used those ray tracing abilities, if they can actually get some use out of that by turning on FSR, and even if it adds a 1-to-1, make one generate one, make one generate one.
Mm-hmm. Which is what FSR does right now. Like my frame rate in Fortnite pretty much doubles without any perceptible change in input latency.
What if you doubled without the latency?
That's the thing. That's
hardware
the big selling point.
Doubled. Yeah. So like you say, okay, well, our latency before was, you know, when we turned on frame gen was 7 milliseconds, and
now it's 4.
It's 3 or 2, or there isn't a delay. It's just using these cores to more or less generate an extra frame.
Yeah.
And double your frame rate.
I mean, that would definitely keep me away from potentially buying a new card in the next couple of years. If it works. And that's the big thing is if.
Okay, so here's the question. If you've got, let's say you have $2,000 and you have a video card, among other things that you needed to buy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but a video card was on the very short list of things you needed to buy.
Yeah.
And you had $2,000 to make a very nice video card. Let's say you have your 9800 X3D all built and you're using onboard graphics because you're waiting for the next gen.
Yep.
Are you waiting till March?
No. In fact, I'm probably going to wait and save up because the odds are we're not going to see very many Founders Editions. Because the last couple gens, we haven't seen a whole lot of Founders Editions. And when the partner cards come out, I'm going to bet you on the 5090, they're going to be up in the 2,500 to $3,000 range.
Oh, I think we're going to totally see scalping.
Well, no, I'm not talking scalping. I'm talking like retail price.
No,
the scalping is going to go crazy.
Sure.
we're going to see.
It's going to be a legitimate thing.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's going to happen unless Nvidia actually took this extra time because this is the longest we have had between generations. The 1080 Ti to the RTX 2000 series was about a year and a half. 2000 to 3000 series was another year and a half. 3000 to 4000 series was a little more than that. And then 4000 to 5000 series has been almost 2.5 years. So unless Nvidia has been just spinning their wheels and doing nothing with that time, which doesn't seem like something Jensen would allow to happen. And Nvidia is going to have parts. The question is, are they going to be Founders Edition at MSRP, or are they going to be a partner card that is heavily inflated for no real good reason?
I think, look, we've had this like, oh, they've been making them for this time. I don't think we're gonna have tons of volume at launch. If you want and are saving money for a 5090, you better be at a Micro Center the day it launches, or be like king of hitting the F5 key online. Because I'm telling you now, the 90 series is going to sell out instantly.
If you got fiber in your area, get it installed now, which is what I'm doing tomorrow at Mom's house.
I think what we're also going to see is we're going to see I think we're going to have very limited 90 stock.
Yeah.
From the distributors, that's the thing that we're kind of hearing that we're seeing from multiple leaks from different people saying, yeah, it's a launch. It's not a very strong volume launch. The 5080 is going to be a stronger launch, but not. I would not put that as a high volume part launch.
No,
I think the 90 and 80 are going to sell out almost instantly. I would be wildly surprised if on day 2 of taking sales, there's anything left to buy in an 80 series or a 90 series card in the United States.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
I think the 70 is probably going to sell out just as well. But I believe that the 70 and the 70 Ti are going to have, I bet you, the card that actually is going to have the highest volume at launch is the 70 Ti.
Yeah,
because
I can see
that notion where, well, we're going to give you a 4 extra gigs of RAM, but it's an extra $200, and it does not cost $200 for 4 gigs of RAM.
No.
And so I think that's what they're sitting there. We can make bank on the 70 Ti. The 70 will still sell out, okay, but the 70 Ti is going to be the volume number. And then it's whatever yields they get from moving forward. We talked about them trying to get parts in. I believe that. I just don't know that we have enough to qualitate volume. And there's a ton of people out there that have been waiting on a graphics card. Think about it. We really didn't sell very many cards Christmas in Black Friday.
No, because everybody knew the 5000 series was coming out, and they were expecting price crashes.
And it didn't happen. Now that's the loaded question. Like, is this the point where you'll start seeing some of those cards sell? And do we think that some of these cards now? I'm interested to take a look again because we keep on looking at this. Because last time we looked, you could not find a graphics card on a high-end 7000 series from 7900 series and highest priced. Okay, so Micro Center has, nope, they're all sold out. They don't have anything in stock. So you've got to go down to, they don't have anything from the 7000 series in stock. So either they pulled it back, it's possible, or two, Micro Center is pulling it back.
I think it's probably that they just don't have the stock. Now the thing that kind of gets me on the 9070 is if AMD has pushed this release date back 2 months and retailers have stock in hand, they're not going to be happy because that's occupying space in their, in their back rooms where they typically don't have a lot of space. Like most retail shops these days don't really can carry a hefty stock room. It's just enough to unload a truck and then get the stuff out to the floor.
It cannot be a positive thing.
No.
That's all I'll say. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, if Pricey Part Picker has got these, let me see here. I mean, lowest is $929 for an XT. That's just a bad price.
Yep.
If for the XT, $689 again. Given what we're expecting to see, I think those are both really bad prices. Considering, the loaded question is going to be where the 9000 series comes and slots in at a price point.
Yeah.
And maybe they don't have a lot of volume at these retailers, but I mean, I think it's very clear from every aspect, we're not expecting these cards to sell. My guess is that if Amazon's got any XTXs, it's going to sit there waiting until the price drops until they start moving.
Yep.
Do not go buy one of those right now, by the way. Just a helpful tip.
Yeah, like unless you're absolutely desperate, don't. Just don't. Stick with onboard graphics.
That's a good question. Wonder what the used market for an XTX is. What do you think, Moose?
I'm going to say 700, 800. Somewhere in there.
Okay. People are stupid.
Ooh. Are they asking for more than 1,000?
1,080.
Oh, good grief. Good. Really?
Here's one 800. But even at 800, I'd argue that that's not a good deal. Look, guys, if you can get an XTX used, okay, here's an XTX in the Springs for $600.
Okay. That I would say is somewhat reasonable for where it is.
Now, with that being said, this is listed 6 weeks ago, so I'm going to guess that that's a BS listing.
Probably.
So I'm just going to call BS.
That seems to be the theme. There's been a lot of BS going around and marketing failures and all of that stuff. So So yeah, but I think on that bombshell, we're going to call it an episode at
That
this
lost
point.
bombshell.
Yeah, the missing bombshell. And until next time, thank you all for watching. We appreciate you giving us a little bit of your time. Remember to like and comment and subscribe. Do all the magical things down in the doobly-doo down below. And until next time, have fun storming the castle.
Take care, guys. Thanks.
Good night, everybody.